Have you looked around at what's going on? I have, and that's what we're going to discuss. Matter of fact, I had to get a drink, so let's dive in. There's a lot happening in the world. You got China freezing people's bank accounts, blaming it on criminal gangs. You got the IMF planning things that you don't know about. You also got the World Economic Forum, who is supposed to be there for the greater good, planning the Great Reset. Makes you kind of think, what was the pandemic really? Was it just the kickoff for the big game? You got China coming up with a social credit system, kind of like your credit score. But if you're out there and you misbehave and you don't do things right, well, you get a check mark. You get enough check marks, you can't fly, you can't drive, you can't do anything. They want control of not just your money, but of everything. They've already demonstrated they can control your money.
You better watch out, you better not cry, you better be good, I'm telling you why. China's gonna steal your money.
And your life.
Food's pretty important for us to live, don't you think? Well, who's buying up all the farmland? China. Who else? Bill Gates. Well, then there's the WHO, though. The WHO is the one that determines what happens with all these pandemics. I mean, you got the monkeypox coming out, and they're saying that's going to be the next global pandemic, but yet hardly anyone dies. It's not really that big of a deal from what I've read. So who's the second largest contributor to the WHO? Well, Bill Gates. And Bill Gates just so happens to own and control about 270,000 acres of farmland. Control, control, control. I mean, up in Canada, remember the truckers that standing up for themselves? Well, their bank accounts got frozen, but...
You better not pout, you better not cry, because good old Canada and China are gonna show you why. We're gonna freeze your bank account.
Because we're in control.
You should already know most of these things. Hell, it'll drive most of you to drink, just like I am. So let's talk about what's next. I mean, if they really want that much control, why is it that it's not here in the States? Are we okay? Because it sure doesn't look that way. During the pandemic, if you went to try to take a large withdrawal out of your bank account, you found out very quickly that the banks didn't want to give you that. They had this excuse, that excuse, fill this form out, fill that form out. There was all sorts of things going on, but that was just the preview to the main attraction. You got a digital currency that's in the works. And that digital currency is going to give an awful lot of control to those in charge. Who's in charge? We really don't know. But let's just start with the Fed. The Fed controls monetary policy, which means the Fed controls the dollar. And the Fed will do anything to protect that dollar, including ruin your life. And they can, and mark my words, they probably will. They're doing a pretty good job. There's a lot of stuff happening out there right now, all behind the curtain. But if you really look at what's happening, you can start to piece it together. Ray Dalio does a good job of starting to kind of give you a glimpse of what's really happening here. Let's talk about supply and demand. The pandemic created a whole bunch of pent-up demand, but supply wasn't possible because everything was shut down. So when it opened back up, you had all these people that wanted things and all these people that needed to provide these things, but they had to really ramp it up, and it created massive problems. They said that that's why prices went up, but that's not why prices went up. Prices went up because they printed $5.1 trillion. That's what drove the inflation. So what are the big things that they will eventually take control of? I would say your money, which is number one, what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how to take back control of your money. But what about the energy grid? Could they take control of the energy grid? Absolutely. And with this big new initiative of raising gas prices and having gas go through the roof, oh, blame Russia for that. That has nothing to do with what we're doing, just Russia. That's the main reason why gas prices are as high as they are. But by gas prices going high and the government actually coming out publicly, I mean, they don't even hold anything back, and then telling you, we're gonna keep gas prices high. Essentially, buy an electric car or you're gonna suffer. So then they push this whole electric car agenda. But it's not just an electric car agenda. It's a green initiative. We gotta protect the world. Now, I'm not sitting here saying we don't have to do something for global warming. Of course we do. You saw what happened during the pandemic when everybody stopped driving, the smog started to lift. Things just got a little bit cleaner, and that was just for a little bit of time. But let's get back to really what matters today. You can't just do a massive pivot and get everybody to drive electric cars. Or can you? They're doing a pretty good job. GM has bet the entire bank on electric. And maybe that was a good move, maybe it wasn't. But once everybody goes electric, can the grid really hold it? And even if the grid can hold it, maybe they do some infrastructure improvements where the grid can handle it. Will they let it handle it? Will they throttle the grid? Will the grid become the gas pump. Well, they all of a sudden say, oh, there's not enough electric to go around, so now it costs more to put the electric in your car. And then when you don't want to pay more for the electric, they just shut your car off. Other parts of the world, if you get out of line, they just take your property. That's right, literally like your property. I mean, I've seen and heard of stories in Mexico where Americans have bought land down there and the government just seized their property. But I thought that was just a consolidated thing, but I talked to some locals and that actually happened. Same thing in other parts of the world where land, the landowner really isn't in control of the land. They can just take it back. Oh, but not here in the United States. They can't just take our land. Well, really, they can't. How about property taxes? Who controls property taxes? Is it you or is it the government? It's the government. And can't they raise your property taxes? Of course they can. And what if they raise the property taxes to a point that you just couldn't afford? What happens? Well, can they take your property? You're darn right. They are the #1 lien holder in all your property. You see, when we think we're in control of all this stuff, we're only in control until we're not. And that's a big problem. So let's just go from the top down. Money is controlled by who? The Fed. They control the monetary supply. They control how much money is put in the economy and how much money is not in the economy, which you're all about to see what that means. So they inject all this money into the central banking systems, which you would think is to lend more money to businesses that need it and you and all these things to stimulate the economy, but then the economy gets too stimulated, and then all of a sudden they say,
Nope, don't lend any more money.
and then the banks say, well,
We can't, that's how we make money. We take deposits in and we lend it out and we make a spread.
Mr. Fed, that's how we make money.
so Mr. Fed comes back and says,
Don't worry about it. All that surplus, just let us hang on to it and we'll pay you the same spread. Maybe we'll pay you even a bigger spread.
so the banks, without taking on any risk, without doing any work, now are making money on money. That's what you should be doing, isn't it? Shouldn't your money be working for you? Yeah, but your money doesn't work for you. Your money works for the bank. Why don't we just take back control of our money? It seems like the most logical place to start. Do you want to know how to do that? Hey, before they censor this video, make sure you like and subscribe to this channel and click that little bell. It'll let you know the next time I put it out because I'll probably ban this one. This is something I learned. Something I learned a long time ago, not from Wall Street, not from being a financial advisor. I learned from failing, and those failures led me down a path where I got to associate with billionaires, extremely wealthy individuals. And I started to look at what they did with money, and I realized it was the complete opposite of everything I ever did as an advisor. I started to really think at first it was almost foreign. It was almost like, no, they're wrong. They can't do that. And I realized they can, and they are, and they always have been. It's working a hell of a lot better than what I was doing on Wall Street because you know what? Up to 2008, I was crushing it, making a ton of money. Then when the Great Recession hit, I was supposed to be guiding my clients, but you know what I was doing? I wasn't guiding, I was riding. I was riding the roller coaster straight down with my clients. That's not what I was supposed to be doing. That's not what I was hired to do. I was hired to be the guider, but unfortunately, I just followed what they told me to do. When the wealthy that I knew, they got wealthier because they were in control of their money. They didn't follow the system. They didn't conform to what everybody told them to do. They did exactly what they should do, and they moved their money. They made their money work for them, just like you should make your money work for you. But in order to make your money work for you, you got to change where it goes first. Because if you take your money that you make, that you work so hard for, because you do, right? You go out there and you work extremely hard to make the Benjamins that you make, to make the dollars that you make. You take this money and you go down and you put it right in the traditional bank. And then the traditional bank, I already told you, they don't even have to lend that money back, let alone they don't even care if you deposit the money. They used to. That's why they used to pay you an interest rate for leaving your money with them. How much are they paying you today? 0? 1%? Anyone out there getting 2? I doubt it. Because they don't need your money. So why would you give your money to someone that doesn't need it, that's not going to pay you anything on it? Why? Is it just because that's what you've been taught to do? Is that because that's what you've been told to do since you were young? Well, sometimes the best thing you can do is the opposite of everything you think you should do. So instead of putting your money in someone else's bank where they pay you next to nothing, you give up control of your money. They can shut off that control. They can literally tell you, like China and like Canada, that you can't have your money back. We're gonna freeze your money. Oh, don't worry, it was some criminal gang. It wasn't us. It wasn't the bank's fault. Somebody hacked our system, so we can't give you your money back. And you're like, well, I have to pay my bills. Well, too bad. And when you can't pay your bills, what do they also control? Your property. Because if you can't pay your mortgage, you can't pay your taxes, who's coming to take it? The bank and the state. They're coming for your money. They're coming for your land. And coming to a theater near you, they're coming for your food. They're going to control it all, folks. So let's get to the important shit. Your money should go the same place that the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Walt Disneys, the Ray Krocs, even the Bidens, and we can even talk about the Kennedys. You want to talk about more? Well, we could, but let's just stick to that. What did all those wealthy families understand that you don't? Well, good, bad, or indifferent, they understood that they needed to be in control of their money. And they understood that their money shouldn't go into a bank, even though many of them were bankers. So what did they do? Well, they created their own banking system. Instead of taking the hard-earned dollars that you work for and giving it up to somebody else that's going to make that money go to work for you, let's take that hard-earned dollars and put it into an unconventional account. An account that's been around for hundreds of years, an account that pays guaranteed interest rate that is at least right now 3 times more than what you're earning on your bank checking account. Not only that, it lives in a tax-free environment if done properly, and that money can be protected against judgments and liens. Oh, this sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? But there's more. And if something should ever happen to you, that money is passed on to your family tax-free. That money can be used at any time you want without any questions. No forms to fill out, no questions outside of, are you money laundering, are you part of a divorce decree, and where would you like us to send the money? That's about it. So when you need the money, how long does it take to get it? Immediately. Immediately, meaning if you did an ACH, about 3 days or less. Most people say it happens the next day. It's just like your traditional bank, except for it's not a traditional bank. It's your bank. But it even gets better. When you put money in your bank, this magical account that I will tell you what it is in just a moment, when you put that money there, let's just say I take and I put $3,000 into my private bank. And then I need $2,000 of that money to invest in a real estate deal. How much money is left in my account? If I start with $3,000 and I take $2,000 out, how much is left earning interest in that magical account? Many of you are saying, well, 3,000 minus 2,000 is 1,000. So 1,000 is left, right? Wrong. All 3,000 is left in the bank. And then you're thinking, well, that can't be. Whose $2,000 are you holding? Where'd that money come from? It didn't just happen out of thin air. No, it didn't. It was a loan to me. Oh, I knew it. I knew there was a catch. Yeah, but it was a loan that never needs to be paid back. Now do I have your attention? You want to know what that magical account is, that private bank? Your bank? Well, it is a specially designed and engineered whole life insurance policy that is designed to work just like a bank account. This isn't new. It's been around for hundreds of years. I mentioned all those wealthy families. That's right, they all use this. Walt Disney started Disneyland using a loan from his bank. Ray Kroc, remember when he had McDonald's and they went from being a burger joint to a real estate company? It took some money. Where'd that come from? A loan from his bank. Doris Christopher, when she started Pampered Chef, which she later sold for billions of dollars to Warren Buffett, where'd she get the money to start that? A loan from her bank. McCain, Biden, where did their political campaign dollars come from? A loan from their bank. Are you seeing what I'm saying? So why would they use a product that you are told not to use, that you are told is the worst place you can put your money? They know something you don't know. You know who else knows something you don't know? Traditional banks. Because traditional banks are the #1 purchasers of these specially designed whole life policies. Look it up. It's called BOLI, bank-owned life insurance. That's right, they own more than just about anybody else. If you take all the banks in this country, as of 2019, they have over $200 billion in BOLI. Now, why would I tell you to do this? Well, if I didn't convince you already with the guaranteed interest rate, if I didn't convince you already that you can put your money in and then you can take your money out and not interrupt the flow of the interest that you will earn for the rest of your life, no matter what. And every single year, this is just compound interest, every single year, the interest that is credited to your account then compounds the next year, and the next, and the next. So your money is always working for you in your control, because anytime you need the money, you can just take it out. Click a button and you've got the money to go out there and do it. And you know what the best part is? Nobody's telling you can't take your money. Nobody's freezing your private bank's account. Matter of fact, nobody's even asking you to do any reporting at the end of the year. So for the most part, nobody knows you even have this account, except for you, your family, and yes, of course, the mutually owned insurance company that you bought the policy from. But don't go buy any other policy from your broke-ass brother-in-law or the insurance store down the street. Key thing I said was specially designed and engineered. This isn't a normal whole life. It is designed backwards. It is designed so that when you put money in it, you have access to a large percentage of that money immediately in the next 30 days. I was an advisor. I'm like, no way. I've never seen a whole life that I can put money in and take money out of immediately. You have no cash in the first year or second year in a whole life policy. These are terrible vehicles. Until I realized that the problem in this country is not the things that we don't know, it's what we think we know that just ain't so. As my good boy Will Rogers said, that's what you need to understand. See, the secret lies right underneath your nose. You want to be in control of your money? You want to have your money work for you every day for the rest of your life without any interruptions? You want that money protected against judgments and liens, and you want that money living in a tax-free environment? Well, then change one thing. Change where your savings goes first. Is this starting to click? Is your drink done? Should be. Folks, the Great Reset may or may not be real, but change is real. And as Bob Dylan would say, the times are changing, and it's time for you to start changing with them. Check out this video right here if you want to learn more about privatized banking and how to change one thing that changes everything. This is What Now, What Next? I'll see you next time.